Welcome to another podcast. I have my good friend Ryan Innes here with me. I think this guy sitting to my left has one of the best voices on planet Earth.
So my audition on The Voice, I completely botched the middle of it. And it was right when Usher and Shakira were turning.
When do you feel like you're at your best? When are you at your best writing? Because
When I'm the most honest.
I owe a lot to Ryan. Ryan was the one that pushed me to make the decision to see a therapist.
Trauma actually can be redefined as anything that negatively impacted you from a young age up. And it could be as simple as not having something explained when you're told no.
Welcome to another podcast. I have my good friend, Mr. Dr. Ryan Innes here with me. Ryan and I go way back, man. So, and we haven't had a whole lot of time to catch up because it's been a few months since we've hung out. So we're going to really just keep it live, hopping, and real here. I'm going to kind of check in on my boy. It's been a little while, but
I'm nervous now.
A little bit about this guy sitting here to my left. I think this guy sitting to my left has one of the best voices on planet Earth. While that sounds very like extreme, I am not kidding. I am not kidding. This guy has one of the best voices you've ever heard. You may have seen him on The Voice. What was that other show? Michelle, you told me about.
Songland.
Songland. Yeah. He was in the Thunder Down Under series, the show that late night show. I'm just kidding. No, but for real, he actually won one of our first Gigg campaign competitions for the Stadium of Fire.
That was awesome.
Was that 2000?
That was 2012, I think.
Was that the biggest crowd you've ever performed? Well, outside of
national television, yeah. But
yeah.
Like 50,000 people.
Yeah.
And it was the Beach Boys. Well, I can technically say we opened for the Beach Boys in some, kind of lying sense. But
yeah, no, you absolutely
and won $10,000 back when the prize was like legitimate
cash,
money.
Yeah, cash, dude.
Yeah.
So, and you were amazing that show.
Fun. That was really fun.
And then he and I got to go to L.A. to the East West studio, and he recorded. What was the name of the song? Was it Davey's song? Whose song?
Devil's Dance.
Devil's Dance. Or
Dance
Steve Picaro.
So many times.
Yeah,
that one.
See, I'm telling you, man.
We're gonna track that. I just talked to a producer out in Nashville last week. That was the first song I gave him.
Really?
I'm gonna release it. It's been too long.
It's so good. So we got in the studio with Steve Picaro. I mean, these are some of the best.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, it wasn't Devil's Dance. It was.
I forget the name of that song.
That was Kevin, or who was it? I'm trying to remember.
That was Timothy Bloom.
Yeah, that's right. Tim Bloom. That's right.
Universal for Devil's Dance.
That's right. Okay,
you were talking about something else.
Something on the water. Cool. Ghost on the Water, something. So yeah, he got in with Tim Bloom, wrote an incredible song. We were down at Universal in LA or Santa Monica a bunch of times, but he got into the studio with some legends: Steve Picaro, Davey Johnstone, Lee Sklar, Denny Sywell, to name a few, and recorded an awesome song. But
I was out of the water there. Like, he threw me with a bunch of legends, and I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, and he tore it up. So we got some great footage that we need to, like, release one day. I don't think I've ever, like...
What have we ever done with that song? Is that song...
It's so good.
Did it get mixed and mastered?
No, I don't even know, man. We need to check in. I think it was Davey Johnstone's song, or he wrote it.
Should do something with it.
Davey Johnstone is Elton John's guitarist, and
he was awesome.
He's incredible. Lee Sklar, look him up. He's been the bassist and is the bassist for some of the greatest bands of all time. And these guys are incredible.
Same thing with Denny. He was playing with Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Denny, the Wings.
Yeah.
Wings. He was drummer for Wings with Paul McCartney. So anyway, I want to start with one question. How many women did you serenade back in the day with your voice? Did you use it to slay?
No, I didn't, man. I was such a scaredy cat, dude.
What?
Totally. I didn't even kiss a girl until I was like 21 when I came home off my mission. Yeah.
You're lying.
No, so I mean, I did all the choir stuff. I was in like the men's quartet and like the show choir. So like singing was a thing and it was around, but I didn't use it to an unfair advantage. I would, luckily girls would want to dance with me at the dances so I could sing in their ear, which sounds so creepy now. So creepy, right?
It's slightly creepy, but kind of awesome.
Boys to Men. It was always a Boys to Men song, or always like a Jodeci.
The 2 album, Jodeci.
Or Tony, or it was just all those like kind of.
Those were the days.
Yeah, dude.
I just put a tweet out this morning. The 90s are fascinating. Like, we lived our childhood and teenage years, that's the last great decade before social media and the internet ruined everything.
Yeah,
Just about everything.
we're born analog.
Yeah.
We say we're born analog, grew up digital.
Right. Exactly. So we're kind of an interesting, rare group. But like you look back at the 90s, the styles, the trends, clothing, the shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, all the new generation, they're pulling from that day,
Totally.
right? Like the music.
I thought the 90s were never going to cycle back because it was just so.
It's crazy.
But right now, it's just like you see kids wearing Jankos with like the 26-inch
dude.
wide opening.
It's crazy.
I'm like, I thought those were never coming back, but they're all about it right
It's
now.
crazy. I don't know how many Nirvana shirts I've seen on young kids. My new thing is, tell me about that group on your shirt. And I love this brand.
Oh
No. Who is that on your shirt? Yeah, it's a brand. I've had a couple young ladies tell me, yeah, it's just a clothing brand. No, it's actually a band. So, do you? Here's a question for you. Do you think it's okay for someone to wear a band shirt if they can't name one or two of the songs or at least one of the band members?
You know, I'm not going to go so hard on them. I hope that the fact they're wearing that will lead them to a discussion to finally hear the music.
I like that. That's a great
because
answer.
the music was good enough that it's lasted this long to be on a t-shirt in Urban Outfitters, but they're wearing it. Someone like Scott comes along and makes some sarcastic remark and they're like, oh, maybe I should go listen. So you did a good thing. You know, I'm not going to get mad at them. You know, if they're belligerent with me about it and trying to fight me on it, yeah, then we're going to go in on it and I'm going to pull the old man strength. But
I like that. That's a good answer. Right?
But man, let the music be you need to hear it if you haven't.
No doubt. I like that. So going back to your career, when did singing become a thing? Did you just know you could sing, or sometimes? I sang a little bit when I was young, and I remember my mom really pushing me to get up in front of people to sing. And my first solo, I was like 8 years old in church or whatever, and I didn't love it, but I learned to love it. But how did your story start?
So I'm the oldest of my family as well.
Oh, you
of
are?
7 kids, and my mom was the same, like getting me up, playing and singing, as young as 2.
Wow.
Like I was singing at my aunts and uncles' wedding receptions. But then she had me audition for the Phoenix Boys Choir. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
So it was before your voice changed. You still sing like a little girl. And like the choir boys, that's what it is, Phoenix Boys Choirs. And so I was 6, 7, driving over to Phoenix twice a week to go practice for the Phoenix Boys Choir. So very young age that I started into even formal performance and training.
Wow. So how about the piano? Because this dude can shred on the keys and sing, which I have so much respect for. That's something I wish I could do. How'd the piano start for you?
Same thing. It was like a house rule, like you practice your piano. I was probably 4 or 5 when we started. My mom was a piano teacher, so it was always happening.
Gotcha.
So much so that even I played, from 4 or 5 all the way up into high school.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I couldn't play football unless I played the piano.
Interesting.
And my dad would definitely have sit-down talks with me. It's Wednesday. There's a big game on Friday, and I was the starting fullback and linebacker. And he said, I will tell your coach you cannot play this Friday unless you practice.
Did you hate that?
I hated it.
So did you hate the piano? It's funny because I have 4 kids at all. We have lessons and stuff. They hate it. But my oldest, he's been the first to be like, this is actually kind of cool.
What was I'm curious, what was the switch for him where he started to like it?
Well, I think it's because he got in front of his friends. I remember one time he had a bunch of friends over and they had no idea he could play.
Really? Okay.
So they're like, can you play, Chase? He's like, yeah, actually I can. And he sat down and started shredding. And they were like, and I think the girls were like,
oh, yeah.
So he's like, okay, thanks, Mom, for making me do this, right? So
interesting.
I think he was proud that he had a talent that a lot of people weren't aware of.
Man, it's such a thing that takes so much work to get to a point where it can actually be fun. And I don't know how I made it through these years other than kind of it being a chore, right? And having to like really do it. I think it changed for me when I started writing music.
Right. Wow.
Because it was fun. It was nice to be able to play and whatever, but it was always like classical music. It was always something that wasn't that useful, or hymns, which at the time I was just kind of like, blah, whatever. But when I started actually writing music on the piano, just instrumental, is when it changed for me because I had just enough of an understanding of like, if I go to this note and if I go to this note, and I had a little bit of theory understanding, so I could maybe connect this here. That was the whole change for me, was when I could start to
How old were you?
create.
How old were you?
I was probably 14.
14 you started writing.
Mm-hmm. But only piano. And I wasn't singing.
Yeah.
I wasn't singing these songs. It was just piano stuff.
Yeah. So, me just kind of telling you, as I've watched you over the years, I really mean when I say, and many would agree with me, that your voice is, he's got the voice of a god. I'm not kidding. Like, no, for real, like
The
Thor,
older I get,
Odin,
the
whatever.
lower it gets, though.
But it's really interesting. The other thing about Ryan is he's an incredible writer. You really are. Like some of this music, I love your music. I listen to it frequently. And you sing from the heart. And you really do need to check his music out. I remember I sent, because I work with a lot of producers in music, and I sent your music on to quite a few big dogs. I remember Jimmy Jam taking a listen to your.
Right. I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And he was blown away. I sent it to another guy. Gosh dang, Kevin Hall, who's another big dog in the music space. They were all blown away. One of the things that I've always been, you've had awesome moments. I mean, you've had. I remember hearing your song during I think it was a Super Bowl. It was an NFL game, and I heard a song that during highlights. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, it was for the Buccaneers. We had a song.
Yeah,
that was on their Instagram.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I was at you that I heard a song at a stadium at a Dodger game or something. I can't remember, but. Tell me about, you've always been into music. Tell me about these little hits that you've had. And what I mean by that is big moments. What have been some big moments over your career? Yeah, your biggest or favorite moments. I mean, so American Idol was probably one.
Well, The Voice.
Or The Voice, I mean.
The biggest one was this, when it was Top Blip. Remember back in the day?
Yeah, dude.
You mentioned it earlier. That was the first time that I was like, oh, wow, that felt really good. And that actually got a response. And that wasn't like me trying to climb up some crazy wall. It was like, if I just kind of stay steady and work at this, there's something happening here. So that was the first opening for me, truly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being on stage in front of a huge audience, right?
And being completely rehearsed, but also now being able to perform because you're not thinking at all. And having a band that's all in it. Like, sometimes I've played a lot of corporate stuff. I've played a lot of private gigs and weddings and things like this, where it's just, you're kind of a fixture of the event rather than performing for the love of it. Even though I'm loving that I get to sing, but we were trying to win $10,000, but more than that, it was like, we're on stage here with all of our buddies playing music that we love. We're so ready, we're so prepared, and when we finally were just able to let loose, it was so fun. And awesome. I still chase that. That doesn't always happen. That's not always part of your experience when you're creating music all the time.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big highlights for me. And then eventually after that, the next year was The Voice. And that was another big kind of shot in the arm of like, oh, okay.
I do have talent.
Sometimes you just need to be put on the stage around other people doing what you're doing to understand where you land in the middle of all that. And not even as a comparison, but just to be like, okay, there's things I can work on. There's things that I wasn't aware of that actually were working for me, or natural stuff that's just floating around that I didn't have anything to do with other than maybe some God-given talent, and that was really a big but it was also super stressful, so I didn't get to realize that till later.
Yeah. I remember The Voice. That was such an incredible moment. You sang Gravity, John Mayer, and I think it was like a few seconds in, and was it Adam Levine that went pop?
Yeah, I was crazy. I hadn't even sung a word. I just did like a run at the beginning that my vocal coach said, you should do this. I was like, okay, cool. And I did it. It was in the falsetto. It was all kind of like soul stanky. And then, Adam flipped around before I'd even sung a word.
That's crazy. So
that was set me. I was like, oh, crap. I'm on the show no matter what. Don't screw it up. And I just tried my best to hold on.
Was that the most nervous you've ever been in your life? What's the most nervous you've ever been? Before singing, at least.
Before singing? While singing?
Any
time in my life when I've been the most nervous? Dude. I think so.
There's only millions of people watching that show.
And
that crossed your mind?
Here's a secret. No one knows this unless I've told you this. So my audition on The Voice, I completely botched the middle of it, but they edited it so you couldn't hear it. I cracked my face off. I cracked so.
Shut up.
And it was right when Usher and Shakira were turning. I cracked so hard.
I've never heard you crack once ever.
Oh,
playing.
dude, yeah,
Was that nerves?
Yeah, and I just pushed it too hard. I was just scared. Yeah, I was just nervous. I mean, because Adam had already gone, so I knew it was on the show, and then Blake after I sang the first Gravity, and then I went to this bigger area and was pretty ambitious trying to get up into this certain area, and I cracked it hard, and the way that they edited it makes it impossible for you to hear it. They I think they cut to my family freaking out, and they were looking at Shakira and Usher turning at the same time. It was like they were turning right as the crack happened, so like they couldn't turn back around. Like, so I only say that to be like nothing is picture perfect. Nothing is ideally what you think it was. There's always these layers of little failures and struggle underneath it. And yeah, I totally botched that.
No way. So waiting for the show to finally go live, did you wonder if they were actually going to cut that out? Were you like,
I didn't know how they were going to present that because I knew that I'd just.
Were you like, thank you? Or like,
When they did it, I was like, thank you for not showing it. But also, was that deceptive because they didn't show my real.
Well, you know,
audition.
that's happening in every reality show.
Yeah, I mean,
everywhere, anytime, any place.
I think they were also on my side. I think, I trended on Twitter for a little bit, because this was back season 4.
Yeah, didn't Gravity like skyrocket?
Yeah, it went to number 1, and John Mayer's was number 2 for like, a day. But it had a moment because the show was brand new. They had positioned me well. I got a 4-chair turn, and I think there was momentum behind me to do more than what happened. And then I got into my 3rd round. And I totally botched it again, dude. I did this weird screamy thing that just didn't work, and you can hear that one. And I got cut. And this was before they did stills where someone else could grab me later, which I think that might have happened later from someone else. But yeah,
wow.
So that whole thing for me was still a learning lesson because and then that song that I picked. Well, quote unquote picked. I had to pick from a pre-approved list. They tell everyone that you pick a song, but I had to pick from a pre-approved list. And I picked 4 songs, and they picked the one song I didn't really love, but I had to pick 4.
Which one was it? Remind me.
It was the Gavin DeGraw tune.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just totally. Anyway, that was a learning experience, but it would also show me you're still you're going in the right direction. You're still doing a good thing. Keep awesome. Putting your faith in music, and it keeps giving back. Yeah. Basically.
It's awesome. A lot of lessons there. So, question for you. What's the best song you've ever written? What's your favorite song you've ever written? And that's a tough question.
I think it's one that just came out last year.
Really?
It's called Brother.
Yeah. You sent it to me. It's great.
It's one where I feel like I wasn't singing to be heard.
What's the song about?
It's about an estranged relationship with my brother. And trying to kind of work my way through that. It took me a while to actually sit down, to be willing to be present with myself and with the situation, to let my creative brain go to a place where I could talk about them. And then I was out in the middle of a studio cabin in the middle of Fairview, Tennessee, which is 45 minutes outside of Nashville.
Yep.
And it was just me and this one other guy named Billy.
And
Billy and I sat down, and we just let ourselves go there. And that song had the most impact on me. There was a while I just could never listen to it without tearing up. And then all the emails I've been getting and just text messages from people who were so touched by a song that had nothing to do with me being a good singer. Yeah. They didn't care how I sounded. It wasn't about, man, you sounded awesome. You can sing so well. It wasn't about this look at me thing. It was about, here's a real piece of the heart, and I hope that helps you in some way, and it has. So yeah, man, that's been my favorite song, even though it's really cool. The most chill and but it makes sense because it's the most intimate.
Yeah, those are the best songs, right?
Yeah.
Story that's told that has meaning to the artist.
And people were always relating it to, not always, they were relating it to other relationships that were not their brother. It was just whatever kind of familiar relationship that was strained, and everyone's got something like that somewhere in the family tree. And so I love you, brother, if you're out there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I think the greatest songwriters in the world are those that write songs that resonate with the heart, with anyone and everyone. I mean, that's what we're all looking for. And the artists that have figured out how to tell stories with their music They're the ones that truly win. If you look at a lot of the crap, and I say a lot of crap. There's some good music definitely that's coming out, today, this day and age, but a lot of it is just the same old stuff that we've heard,
It's a new packaging, and it's serving some commercial purpose, and it's trying to make a dollar for someone somewhere. And there's certain artists that they're really good at that. And then there's other artists who aren't trying to play into that, and they're writing songs that mean something to them, and it somehow also resonates with enough people that then they can go on tour and play them live in a room where people sing the lyrics back to them because they're now singing their own story back to you, which I think that's the best version that we can all have, is music becomes an experience and a shared experience and a personal experience. So yeah, that's my favorite song, simply because I think I was finally able to tap into that kind of experience with the song.
Yeah, that's good. So, you hear stories about artists being at their very best when they're at their very worst. And what I mean by that is some of the best songs ever written were when the artist was in hell, literally.
They're just miserable. This tortured artist.
Yeah, exactly. So when do you feel like you're at your best? When are you at your best writing? Because
when I'm the most honest.
When you're the most honest. And is that
when I'm the most vulnerable?
One of the things I love about Ryan, and we're homies for life. We've had some deep conversations. I love how real you are, how you say what you mean and feel, and it hasn't always been the case. I mean, and I think that's for everyone, right? And you got to find your own truth in life, and I think it's interesting that was your answer. When you're honest, you're at your best.
Because for me, being honest used to mean that it was going to be heavy. There was going to be something big, something traumatic, something that I was not paying attention to. But I've learned how to be honest with happier things, or be honest with mid-tempo, chill things. Honest became more about me accepting and figuring out how to actually feel my emotions rather than just singing them out. Lots of therapy.
Lots of talking to someone about, I didn't realize I would skirt around conversations with humor, or with, back when I was a missionary, with some kind of scripture or some kind of just something that wasn't about the reality of what was going on, or I didn't even realize what was going on because I was so just kind of out of the loop with it. So I've learned how to be honest and just be present with some of that stuff. And it doesn't have to be, it's going to be heavy. But I think people on some level, they feel that. They understand it. There's just whatever human receptors that we all have. When people can, if they're paying attention, they know when you're being honest. They know when you're being real. That's cool, man. True. It's true. And I didn't know if I was going to go here, but I'm going to go here.
Let's go.
I owe a lot to Ryan. I'm sharing a lot of love for this guy, right? But it's because I do love him like a brother. But I owe a lot to Ryan in the fact that Ryan was the one that pushed me to make the decision to see a therapist or go see a counselor. It's really crazy how it happened. I think we were actually on the way to John Mayer.
Driving to and from John Mayer concert.
Yeah, and I can't even remember how it came up, but I got really real about a situation in my life.
Very real.
That just has tormented my soul for years. And Ryan's listening. He's a good listener. So he's like, hey man, I'm just gonna say this. I think you need to go see a therapist. And I'm like, therapist? I'm not going to see. I don't need that.
Yeah. What's that weak ass?
I'm not going to that.
No, I'm a strong dude.
Yeah,
I don't need to talk to
that.
Some frou-frou therapist. No, yeah. I get that. Yeah.
Because I think I started tearing up as I was telling him about this story, and my wife was there, and so was your wife.
My wife, yep.
And he and Bree were like, his wife were like, dude, you really should do this. And I don't know why it just clicked with me at that moment, because I was actually in a very, very tough spot at that time.
I could tell, man.
I was. It was probably the darkest time of my life.
Really?
Yeah. And so Ryan ended up texting me the phone number of this amazing human being. Mindy is her name. And
she's also my wife's therapist.
Yeah. I love this woman, Mindy, and I owe you a lot. But I ended up taking like 10 sessions, or doing 10 sessions. It changed my life. And the reason I mention this is because, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts, there's a lot of especially men out there
Mhm.
that feel like doing something like that makes them less manly or makes them, like I don't need that sissy stuff, like I don't need that.
You're just gonna go complain to someone, and then
Yeah, whine.
I'm gonna pay $150 an hour to go tell someone
Yeah.
and have them just stare at you and be like, "How does that make you feel?" Like, if you have a bad therapist, yeah, but no, if you pick a good therapist, you finally have a safe place where you can be completely honest and you can have someone hold up a mirror to you, and it's not a judging thing, it's not a critical thing. It's like, this is what's happening.
Yeah, man.
How does that feel? Is that what you want? And then here's some ways to work through it. And yeah, it's a long game. It's definitely something to. But dude, I'm so glad that you actually did it, because there's so many people that I know haven't and wouldn't and won't, and maybe there's a timing thing for them, but you jumped on it right away.
Yeah,
and I just like
changed my life,
you
dude.
for that, man.
I can't.
I wonder if this would come up.
Well, I didn't know that it would, but I'm mentioning it now, and I think my I guess war cry is to men right here, knowing that the guy that kind of gave me some guidance as to how to approach this. If you have things that tear you apart inside, and you know what those things are, you may not know them necessarily, but if you have a moment where something from your past or an experience or something comes up and you can feel it racking your soul in that moment, you need to consider what Ryan advised me to do. And I actually got into a therapy called, is it EMDR? EMDR.
Yeah.
It is nuts. Do your research on it. But
Yeah.
regardless of whether it's EMDR or just talking to someone, it is the best thing I ever did. It gave me so much understanding of where because I fall short. We all fall short in many ways, but a lot of the things that I have struggled in my life with are directly connected to some trauma or things that I dealt with when I was younger.
Yeah, and even redefining the word trauma, because a lot of people think of that as some sort of assault or physical something that was a traumatic injury, a big, huge thing. But no, trauma actually can be redefined as anything that negatively impacted you from a young age up. And it could be as simple as not having something explained when you're told no. It could be as big as not having a chance to talk through some normal emotions that you just suppressed down for a while, and that traumatized you because now you have this operating system.
It's crazy.
And it's redefining the idea of what trauma is and not letting it be this big, huge, crazy thing. It's like, no, being human and growing up is traumatic.
That's right.
So let's go talk through that shit.
Dude, it's so true. And anyway, I've had 5 moments in my life. I can name them. And this is what Mindy did so brilliantly with this EMDR strategy. Okay. 5 moments in my life since after right as I got married, right? So I had been married 5 instances since that moment where I literally lost my cool. And it's crazy how it was all interconnected to some moments when I was young. So it made perfect sense where, it's never really made sense to me as to why I lost my mind and started thinking irrationally and just really not the way that I would normally be, but it was connected to. So anyways, fascinating stuff. And so a lot of the stuff that Ryan, taught me, even just in the time that I had with he and his wife, got me more prepared as I started moving into this. But it was the best thing I ever did. So thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
I'm just glad we had the conversation. I'm glad I was in a position to say something that could help.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So anyway, going into so I wanted to mention that, but I want to go back into some of the fun questions that I had for you. Music is so important to you and I. I know it's incredibly important to you. Who were your biggest influences as a kid? And I say as a kid because as a kid, that's where it kind of all begins. Because you said 14, you started songwriting. So who do you think played the biggest role in your songwriting? And then my second follow-up question is, who are the best songwriters on the planet right now, current?
Jeez. Okay.
This is always interesting. You can learn a lot about someone hearing this stuff.
So my biggest influence, I think, when I finally had a breakthrough into the potentials of singing and stuff that wasn't country music, where I grew up in Southern Arizona, all I knew was country music and church music and choral music. That's all I heard. I finally had some major breakthroughs and was inspired by Boyz II Men.
It's one of my favorite. Which, by the way,
you tell the story. Yeah,
you opened for him, dude.
Because of you.
Well, hey, it was meant to be.
I opened for him. Geez, it was a while back, but that was.
Was that surreal?
It was nuts, man. It was just me and a piano. It wasn't even like a band, and it wasn't like me. I was literally sitting. I had a suit on. I got all dressed up.
You looked unreal, dude.
Yeah, did a thing, and then, geez, my whole family was there.
That's surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boyz II Men. The Boyz II Men 2 album was game changer for me. I think it's one of the greatest albums of all time.
I mean, I remember when you say that, instantly I'm thinking about the song "I'll Make Love to You" and how we had to have like a mutual meeting where they're like, what is this music that my 3-year-old's singing? I'm like, it's fantastic. And it's like, what's wrong with it? And there was a song about Mama. Their Silent Night. I just never heard people sing like that.
They're one of
I grew up in southeastern cotton farming town, USA. I had never heard people sing like that.
They were incredible. Dude.
And I was trying to attach to music in a way that made sense with my personality. I played football. I played sports. Was super intense. Was a lot of suppression of emotion, like we talked about earlier, where I didn't know what to do with it. So I just had these outlets. And soul music was that final, just a release of like, man, you can like feel this same intensity through music, and you're not having to put on the pads and go knock someone out. And it has this whole range between you can get super sexy, right? You can get super angry. It was the music of the civil rights movement. And you can get super happy. I think soul music has the biggest range of emotion.
I 100% agree.
And it's heart. It's the soul. It's like when you're happy, you're happy. When you're angry, you're like, I'm destroy. And when you're just chilling out, like I think soul music captures the most for me. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is the kind of stuff. And then my voice started to develop in a way where soul music made sense because I had some grit and I had a little bit of range and I had some falsetto and I had these things that kind of lent themselves towards soul music. So there was still a development into discovering more and more music, but it was Boyz II Men.
That's awesome. So I have a request now.
Uh-oh.
So my wife is a huge fan
of
Ryan's.
I'm not singing.
The song that gripped my soul as a young man, my first slow dance, was on
Water Runs Dry? On Bended Knee.
How can I talk you in to covering that song?
On Bended Knee?
On Bended Knee. How do I talk you into
doing it? It
won't
take much, but we should talk about that.
I want you to do that. If you do.
Or End of the Road, but it's got to be On Bended Knee?
It has to be On Bended Knee.
If we compare one other one with it, let's do it.
We have to do On Bended Knee. That's the only choice. We may conceive a fifth child of this song.
Woo!
And it will be
You'll name him Ryan Jr.
Ryan Innes Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, no, I seriously would love.
Let's talk about it.
For real, you got to do it.
So again, in all of the years that I've been doing music and doing cover music or whatever, I've never covered a Boyz II Men song because the Holy Grail. It's just like it's like trying to cover Jesus.
It's like trying to redo the Goonies movie,
right?
You
it's
can't
just
redo
like
the Goonies
it's so damn good, and it's the music of my childhood. My teenage years. Like I don't want to come in and be like,
but you could handle it. I'm saying this.
Okay, let's figure it out.
I'm saying this. You could handle it.
Let's figure it out.
And in that song, you could nail every aspect of that song, including the piano. Like, dude, you would crush. Please do it. I'll pay you.
Let's do it.
Please.
It needs to happen.
It has to happen. What's your favorite Boyz II Men song of all time? Mine's On Bended Knee for sure.
I think it might be End of the Road.
Oof, that song's so good. That song was it Boomerang? It was on the Boomerang soundtrack. Ooh, it's so good.
It's just so good. And Water Runs Dry. I loved singing that one.
4 Seasons of Loneliness.
But if I had to pick one, I think it's End of the Road.
I'm Doing Just Fine. The title or the first song of Evolution. Oh my gosh. I'm getting the chills thinking about it. That's when you know that we're dealing with one of the best of all time.
And they're still performing.
They're
good. Still doing their thing. I mean, they're the number one selling group of all time. Like, I love it. And I love that they were so loyal to each other. You realize that they don't have their bassist anymore. And they just sing with the three of them.
Yeah, Michael.
They didn't bring anyone else on. They're like, no, we're good.
One of the things that's cool, though, and I remember this from the show that you did, and then I saw him. I can't remember where I saw him outside of that, but they had Michael, in the background.
Yeah, he's on the tracks.
That dude's voice is stupid.
Hey, girl.
Baby.
Hey, baby.
I'm sorry.
Please
forgive me all the wrong I've done. Please forgive. Please come home, girl.
Yeah. I mean, and what's beautiful about that is I learned later that they were keeping on a tradition from old Motown stuff
Yeah.
of that low talking. Oh, dude, it was great.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Who's the best songwriter this day and age? You
Wow.
can give me a couple because that's tough. I know you're a huge Mayer fan.
Mayer's great because he's his own thing. He doesn't
Yeah.
co-write with anybody.
Yeah.
He's written how many different albums, different styles. My favorite is Continuum, that has the gravity.
So good.
So yeah, he is a standard for songwriting, and I think he was one of the first songwriters that really kind of just broke that mold for me.
So good.
Because I didn't realize for a long time that most artists didn't write their own songs.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know that, and I don't think a lot of people
This day
still
and
don't know that,
age- this
especially
day
in
and
country music. There's an entire industry, of people that are fully committed to just writing.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that. But if we're talking current day, you know what, man? The first name that came to mind was a guy named Michael Pollock.
Michael Pollock. I don't think I know.
Go look at the biggest records that have been coming out for the last 5 years.
Really?
He's on all of them.
Jeez,
He was all over the Jonas Brothers that just came out.
dude, the new Jonas Brothers. My wife just
Waffle
showed it
House.
to me. Waffle House is so good.
Waffle House is by
Vacation
far
Highs. Vacation Highs is my second favorite
so
song.
cool.
That's hilarious. She just sent it to me. You got to listen to this. It's the Jonas Boys.
I mean, sometimes I forget about the Jonas Brothers, but then all of a sudden they drop a song. I'm like, what?
Yeah, they're talented, man.
Michael Pollock also wrote on Flowers.
Really?
The
Yeah,
Miley Cyrus, the like monster major hit. He wrote with Boyz II Men. He wrote with Maroon 5.
I'm embarrassed to admit.
He wrote with. You got to go look. And the cool part about it is I wrote with him years ago before he blew up in Nashville.
No way.
And my album, there's a song on it that I wrote with him.
Which one?
Don't Let Me Let You Go. He and I were sitting on Music Row right at Universal. We wrote 4 songs. Anyway, Michael's such a good dude and has like a crazy come up. He went to Belmont University in Nashville, and they had a master class or some sort of something like that. And Billy Joel was there, and he was playing and talking to the music students.
So good.
Michael gets up and's like, "Hey, can I play New York State of Mind with you?" And he did, and he killed it, and he got a publishing deal off of that moment.
Wow, that was his moment.
Yeah, Pete Gambarg signed him right there.
No way.
And then my manager at the time got me hooked up to get him. He was just brand new. He was just starting to write.
Cool.
So
love stories like that.
He's killing it, man. So I think Michael Pollock right now is
very cool.
Yeah,
I need to check him out.
Check him out. Look him up.
I'm embarrassed that I haven't met him, or not met him, but learned about him. So I'd love to meet him too. We'll see what we can do here.
And that's true insider stuff. A lot of people won't care, won't know like who are the writers. But if you search that guy's name, you'll see how many songs he's been writing. Now they're huge.
It's awesome.
And again, it's always co-writes. He's not the only one writing. Again, you'll see maybe you might even see 8 names, but he's always one of them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good, man. Well, I want to I call it the whack questions to end the podcast.
Whack?
The whack questions. These are questions that have no relevance, are really more just stupid knowledge.
Are they
and just a lot of fun?
Are you just coming off the head with these two?
Sometimes a lot. I stay the course and ask a lot of the same ones. Right, Michelle?
That makes sense.
Let's start with what's your favorite restaurant of all time?
What?
Oh man, I thought this would be quicker. Maybe this is gonna backfire.
It's probably Bam Bam's.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
There it is. This is an unpaid endorsement right here. But maybe
it is the best barbecue I've ever tasted, especially the fatty brisket with the sweet barbecue sauce. I'm telling you, every time I eat it, I make inappropriate noises, and everyone's just like, "Who is that weird guy in the corner moaning over his brisket?"
It's so good.
I love it. I genuinely love it. Not because you guys feed me, but because I effing love it.
I love it, dude. The last post you did was epic. Was it the Bam Bam bib or something?
The bib. Yeah, that was fun. I still have it.
That's awesome. Well, you've been such a huge advocate and support to us. We love you for it. So thank you. Thank you for that.
It's love all the way around.
Yeah, so good. Okay, next random whack question. Your first concert ever?
Dwight Yoakam.
Dwight Yoakam?
Do you know who Dwight Yoakam is?
How do I know who Dwight Yoakam is?
He's a country singer.
Oh, dude.
He sings this weird song called Pocket of a Clown. He wears the tightest pants you've ever seen on a country artist. I saw him at the Arizona State Fair. It wasn't even an intentional thing. Like, we were just at the state fair and there happened to be an artist singing. We went to it and it was Dwight Yoakam.
Were you like, this shreds? Yeah.
No, I was so confused.
Pocket full of clowns.
It was like, the song's actually kind of good. He ended up being an actor too, but his pants were so tight and he had a really weird cowboy hat. Back in the 90s, dude, they were just doing whatever. And yeah, that was my first
hilarious.
concert. Yeah.
First celebrity crush.
Mm.
Who just knocked her socks off as a young man, as a wee lad?
Gosh, I should remember her name. It was when I saw The Mask.
Cameron Diaz?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely.
The first time I saw The Mask, I was like,
Who is this?
I've never felt feelings like this before.
She's beautiful.
This is amazing.
That's the best. I think that's the best she ever looked in a film was The Mask.
I don't remember. Yeah, that was a very.
Yeah, she's beautiful. That's
beautiful. Yeah,
that's a fantastic
and hilarious and a great actress. Yeah.
Yep. So next question: who is your favorite comic book hero of all time?
Dude, that's a bad question for me because I don't have one.
How about let's go?
I don't own a comic book.
Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars.
Are you a Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
Who would you say your favorite character is?
C-3PO.
Really?
Yeah.
He's my least favorite, probably.
Dude, he's so
no, Jar
cool.
Jar.
Oh, I mean, yeah, Jar Jar is the
terrible.
C-3PO. He's like the Nickelback of Star Wars.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Nickelback. I don't care what anyone says. Nickelback has talent. I don't care what anyone says, dude.
They have talent, but it doesn't mean they you can't hate on them.
I think they've made a lot of money. And yeah, they've got some trash. Look at this photograph. That song's terrible. However,
look at this graph. Have you seen that meme?
The meme. Look at this photograph.
I don't know if they get the hate as like everyone's just piling on. It's like cool to hate on Nickelback and make the jokes. But I also don't necessarily love their music either. So
some of it I love. Whoever does or engineers their music, some of the fattest guitar I've ever heard in my life. I love heavy guitar.
Okay.
I'm a big metal rock fan.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's just
you're
it's
down
just
with the
crisp.
Krog.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you a Creed fan?
Yeah.
See, Creed, they got a lot of hate. They rock. I don't care what anyone says.
No, yeah, but I liked his voice more than Chad's.
Yeah,
I just like that voice style better.
It's funny because Ken went to high school with the Creed boys. With,
oh really?
The lead singer. Yeah, lead guitarist. Lead guitarist or the singer?
Where at? Here?
Florida.
Also,
yes.
Speaking of Florida, the same producer that did Nickelback does Florida Georgia Line.
Florida Georgia Line is talented. We did a
they're like the Nickelback of country, which is
but they're good.
But then it made sense.
Yeah, if you're gonna get the Nickelback name in any music genre, you're tearing it up. That means that there's a lot of love and a lot of hate.
Just a lot of attention that turns into.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. This is one of my favorites to ask. What is Bree's biggest pet peeve of yours?
Bree's biggest pet peeve of mine. I tell her the same things over and over and over. I repeat myself.
I do that too.
I don't know why I do it, and she's just like, "This is like the fourth time you've told me that."
Like a story, or just like
no, even just like random effects, or like we'll go on our daily walk and we'll walk by that same house, and I'll say like, "Oh man, there's another one." She's like, "Yeah, you say it every time we walk by it, you idiot."
I do the same thing,
and I'm like, "It's just because I want you to know how much I love that. You should see that thing." I try to spin it, and that's not
too bad. That's not too bad compared to some of the other stuff I've heard. So good on you.
I heard some of them before, but yeah.
Yeah. By the way, you absolutely married a gem.
Oh my gosh,
she's amazing. How you pulled her off? I mean, it's amazing.
I think most
you sang to her, dude. I guarantee it, because you're maybe a 6 out of 10. She's a 10.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable.
No, I don't know. I don't know how. And we dated for a long time too. So she actually knew me when she married me, right? I didn't trick her into being like, now my crazy's coming out that we got married. Yeah. It was full on. You know what you're getting into here. So
yeah, she's amazing. So good work, brother.
I love her. Yeah.
Okay, last question before we close it down. What is your favorite cereal? Well, I already know it.
O's.
O's.
The O's, dude. These are good.
This one's getting a lot of love, huh, Michelle? Everyone's picking on that one.
These are just as good with milk as they are just a handful.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Dry. Yep.
They are amazing. Yeah. And you got the family size.
It's because we care.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And the other little ones are always, I'm eating through those like
that's so good.
In like one season, one episode of whatever.
Well, I love you, brother. I appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me.
So this has been a lot of fun. So check this guy out. I'm not kidding. You will love me for it. You'll thank me later. Where can they find you? On social media?
You can find me at Ryan Innes. It's just my name. And all my handles are that. And then wherever you stream music, just search that. And
yeah. Well worth it. Well worth it. Ryan Innes, INNES. Yes.
Yes, sir.
ES. Anyway, until next time, sayonara.
Sayonara.